Hey everybody. I'm going to start reading the first two chapters of one of my favorite fun books to read. It's called The Classroom at the End of the Hall. Chapter 1. Parents say the classroom is haunted. Mr. Leeks, the custodian at Walter T. Mellon Elementary, told us on the first day of school. He leaned on his mop handle as if it were a crutch. He raised a bushy gray eyebrow and squinted an eye. His whiskers rasped like sandpaper as he stroked his narrow chin. And sometimes in the evening, when I'm mopping the hallway, I hear sounds myself coming from that room at the end of the hall, he said. I hear desks banging shut and chalk squeaking on the blackboard. I hear creaks from the floor and scrapes from the ceiling. Give me the willies, it does. Back hunched, the custodian took a few swishes with his mop. He stopped suddenly and stared at us again. The hairs in his nose quivered when he snorted and said, "And let me tell you, youngsters, I've seen things as well in that room at the end of the hall. Take, for instance, just last night while I was sweeping the playground. You know how the moon is extra round and bright on the evening before school starts? Well, let me tell you, youngsters, last night moonbeams shone through the classroom windows and fell like a spotlight upon the teacher's desk. And there, as stiff as a flagpole, sat a man, a large burly man with a bushy black beard. At first I thought he was a wax figure, some store mannequin, but when he raised a finger and pointed to a desk, I nearly lost my teeth. Yes, sirree, that's all he did, raise a finger and point. Mr. Leeks swished his mop back and forth, as he asked us, "Now tell me, youngsters, can you guess who that man was?" We shook our heads. Here the custodian stared over our shoulders. With a shaking, crooked finger, he pointed to a painting and banging above the front door at the school. Now he spoke in a whisper. "That's Walter T. Mellon. Himself, I'm telling you, the very man I saw in the room at the end of the hall. They say he was a great teacher at one time. They say he was the best of them. But let me tell you," and he leaned toward us so that he could smell his sour breath, "they also say that man died some 20 years back." The custodian swiped his thin lips. With the back of his hand. Again, he leaned on his mop handle and stared down the hall as if studying our classroom door on the far end. "I'm telling you, youngsters, I can put my finger on it exactly, but something odd, something strange, something peculiar." He stopped and stared right through us. "Something extraordinary goes on in that room at the end of the hall." Mr. Leeks plunged his mop into the water bucket. "Now the bell is about to ring, youngsters," he said, pushing hard on a lever to squeeze out the mop. "Hope you have yourselves a fine school year." The Chalk Dust Genie. Clap, clap went the erasers in Roger's hands. Clap, clap, clap. He pounded the felt blocks together again. Clap, clap. With each wallop, a large puff of white chalk dust spouted into the air and drifted across the playground. Clap, clap, clap. Cleaning erasers was the perfect classroom chore for Roger. What other job gave him a chance to smash things together? Where else could he make such a mess and not get in trouble? When else could he be so remarkably noisy without a teacher complaining? For Roger enjoyed nothing more than hitting and making messes and being noisy. In the classroom, he relished kicking over loaded wastebaskets and grinding pencils in the sharpener for as long and as loudly as possible. It thrilled him to spit in the fish tank, scribble shocking words on his neighbor's desktop with a permanent felt pen, or superglue the lunch boxes in the coat closet together. Nothing felt better than to shout out in class, tell the sickest joke to a first grader, or do something gross, such as writing his name on the blackboard with snot. In his short, Roger was the class pain in the neck. No wonder every student in the room at the end of the hall, not to mention the tall teacher, was glad Roger stood outside right now cleaning erasers. Roger scratched the side of his freckled nose with an eraser, leaving a white blotch on his cheek. 5 chalk dust rectangles already decorated his jeans. He slapped his knee with the eraser and printed one more. Now for the final whack, he said, spreading his arms wide. I might as well go in the classroom. I mean, math must be over by now. Then swiftly, fiercely, he swung the 2 erasers together. Clap! Out billowed a large powdery chalk cloud. Instead of sailing through the climbing structure and over the swings and slide, however, this white dust hovered in front of the boy like a plump ghost. Roger blinked twice to make sure he saw what he thought he saw. Yes, smack in the middle of the chalk cloud, gently bobbing up and down, sat a genie. It had to be a genie. Not only did he wear a golden turban, a large gold ring in his ear, baggy pajama bottoms, but the first thing he said was, "Your wish is my command, Raj." A grin stretched across Roger's face. He had read books about genies and knew what they were good for. "You mean I get 3 wishes?" he asked. "You mean I can ask for anything I want?" The genie folded his beefy arms across his bare chest. Raising his smooth chin, he replied in a baritone voice, "You got it, Raj. Care to try me out?" What better news could a boy like Roger hope for? His brain waves were spinning. 3 wishes? Think of the possibilities. Roger scratched his head with his eraser streaking his black hair. "Now, what could my first wish be?" he said. "I mean, I don't want to waste a chance like this, right? I mean, a kid couldn't get like this every day. This wish must be perfect. This wish must do everything spectacular." While he thought, Roger's eyes fell upon the kindergartners who were out for recess. Instantly, his face lit up. Picking on kindergartners was one of his favorite pastimes. He never tired of seeing the surprised looks on the faces of these W.T. Mellon newcomers when he did something particularly nasty to them. Turning toward the genie, still bobbing in front of him, Roger said, "Genie, here's my wish. I know what you can grant me. I wonder what would happen. I mean, I don't want anyone to get hurt or anything, but I just wonder what would happen if the playground turned into something slick and slippery. I mean, I wish the playground would turn to ice." The genie's nostrils flared as he sucked in a lungful of air. "Are you sure, Raj?" he said gravely. Yes, that is my wish, and you must grant it," said Roger. "I want to make the playground as slick as you can make it for as long as I say. Won't those little guys be surprised? What will they do? I mean, it will be unbelievable." In slow motion, without a word, the genie bobbed inside his white cloud. His inky black eyes glared down at Roger. Well, said Roger. "Where's the magic? Where's the hocus pocus? I mean, aren't you supposed to say some magic words or something?" The genie said nothing, but in the next instant the entire playground turned white, smooth and as shiny as a new dime. At once the kindergartners began to slip and slide. Some flapped their arms like penguins to keep from falling. Most were on their fannies in seconds. Jump ropers crashed to the asphalt, entangled in their ropes, and tag players were skidding into the swings. A girl who was playing hopscotch did the splits, while a chubby boy zipped down the slide so fast that he shot across the baseball diamond clear out to the left field. Roger slapped his thighs with his erasers, plastering his jeans with more white rectangles. "Unbelievable!" he howled. "Did you see that kid go? I mean, did you ever see such a goofy look on a girl's face? Okay, Jeannie, that's enough. Let's not overdo it. Unbelievable! Did you see that little kid spin off the merry-go-round? Once the playground returned to asphalt, the genie folded his arms and repeated, "Your wish is my command, Raj." "Well, now let me see," said Roger. "I still have 2 wishes, don't I? I can't waste either one of them. I must wish for just the right thing. I mean, how could I top that last one?" For at least a minute, Roger stood tapping his chin with an eraser. "What if," he said. No, that's not good enough. Then he thought for some more and said, "I've always wondered what would happen if," but he shook his head and did some more thinking. Finally, Roger tossed the erasers in the air and announced, "Genie, I have it! I know just the thing. I mean, it's perfect. Just wait until you hear it. You see, I want to be head of my class. I want to be in control, call all the shots. I mean, I wish I were the teacher." The instant Raj finished the sentence, he found himself sitting behind the teacher's desk in the room at the end of the hall. The green blackboard loomed up behind him. Still and silent, his 24 classmates sat at their desks facing him. "Well, how about this?" said Roger, pivoting back and forth in his swivel chair. "There you go. I'm the teacher, and those are my students. I mean, they're just sitting there waiting for my orders." Roger spun around in the teacher's chair. He opened the desk drawers and blew the teacher's whistle. He rang the teacher's bell and drummed on the desktop with the teacher's ruler. He cleared his throat importantly and called out, "Attention, class! Give me your attention, please. All eyes. Forward now. Sit up straight in your seats." Here Roger paused to stare severely up and down the 5 rows of desks. "Is that a voice I hear?" he said. "I want no more chit-chat. Emily in the 4th row, stop combing your hair. This is not a beauty parlor. Mary, take that chewing gum out of your mouth and stick it on your nose. Now, class, follow my instructions. Listen and do what I say. I want you to take out your reading books and turn to page 30. To Roger's delight, the rows of desktops opened in unison. When a reading text lay in front of each student, he commanded, "Now, class, I want you to read pages 30 to 39. Got that? Then read pages 40 to 49. Next, let me see. Read 50 to 59 and 60 to 69. And why not throw in page 70? Just for fun." Roger enjoyed the shock expressions in the faces of his classmates. "And there will be no talking and no squirming in your seats and no trip to the toilet," he went on. "And, oh, please, no questions. Understand? Good. Now enjoy your reading. There will be a big test on it. When you have finished, you may begin." Soon the only sound in the room at the end of the hall was the occasional swish of turning pages. Roger nodded in approval. He leaned back in the teacher's swivel chair and studied the holes in the acoustic tiled ceiling. "That should keep this class busy until lunchtime," he said, swinging his feet up on the teacher's desk. "I mean, this teacher's business is a breeze. Unbelievable. What a life! I mean, to sit in a classroom all day dishing out orders. How easy can you get?" In the next moment, however, in the very moment when the room at the end of the hall was most calm and peaceful, when the students who were so quiet you could hear the clicking of the clock above the bulletin board, a voice blared from the back of the room. "What's going on? I mean, what's everyone doing?" Roger sat bolt upright in his teacher's chair. In the doorway stood a boy holding 2 erasers, and this boy had the same freckled face, the same chalky jeans, the same dusty black hair. Roger blinked twice. Yes, this boy was a copy of Roger himself. Whistling a rock and roll tune, the boy strolled into the classroom. Squeak, squeak, went his tennis shoes as he shuffled to the front of the classroom. He passed the green blackboard, scraping his fingernails along its entire length. The erasers ended up on the door. "Quiet, creepo," someone called from the 2nd row. "Shh, shh, shh," hissed several others. Leaning forward, Roger followed the boy's progress from the blackboard to a desk in the 3rd row. "Hold on! Hold the phone! Hold your horses! I mean, hold everything!" he muttered in one breath. "That kid is heading toward my desk!" And that is precisely where the boy sat down. At once he threw open the lid. Crack! Down it came. "Shh, shh, shh, shh," circled the room again. The boy grinned. Without bothering to raise his hand, he called out, "Unbelievable! Hey, teacher! Teacher, I lost my reading book. I have nothing to read. I mean, what am I supposed to do?" For the first time in his life, Roger the teacher, was speechless. Deep down in his gut, he knew what would happen next. His eyes fell upon Rosalie, who sat in front of the loudmouth boy. Rosalie had a long brown ponytail that hung far down her back. Roger knew this ponytail well, and it came as no surprise to him when Rosalie wheeled in her seat and shook at first his fist at the boy. She growled, "You put glue in my hair one more time, creepo, and I'll flatten you." The boy merely grinned again, a wide, toothy grin that Roger also knew well. Roger slumped in his chair and blew out his cheeks. "Someone must do something about that kid," he said. "I mean, what happened to the peace in the room? What happened to the quiet? I mean, how is anyone supposed to get any reading done with that kid disrupting everything?" Here is what the boy sitting at Roger's desk did next. First, he leapt out of his seat. On the way to the back of the room, he snapped Kenneth's reading book shut, knocked on Emily's desk, kicked over the wastebasket. At the drinking fountain, he took a long slurpy drink, then burped. Returning to his desk, he made the computer go beep, 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 bumped Howard's chair, snapped Kenneth's book shut a second time, then burped again. By now, no one was reading. The entire class was staring at Roger, the teacher, who scowled with scowls on their faces. Roger's shoulders rose to his ears. "So why look at me?" he said. "Why? What do you want me to do?" But of course, in the long experience with teachers, Roger knew what the class expected of him. It was his job to stop that pain in the neck. Rattled, he slowly rose from his seat, pointing a finger at the boy who was now drumming on his desk with two pencils. He snarled, "All right, you. You will stay in from the next recess with your head down on your desk. Got that? Wait a minute. I mean, you shouldn't be going outside for the rest of the day. I mean, for the rest of the year. Understand? No, I mean, you won't have recess for the rest of the year. The rest of your life." As soon as Roger had said these words, he knew he had wasted his breath. How many times had his tall teacher said similar things to him? And what would Roger always do when he did? He would give the tall teacher his wide, goofy smile, and now there sat the boy wearing that same grin. Roger's skin grew hot and prickly. He dropped into his chair. "It's hopeless," he muttered. "I mean, that one kid has made the entire classroom miserable. Things were great until he showed up." There was only one thing left for Roger to do. He stepped to the green blackboard, picked the erasers off the floor, and trudged outside to the playground. Once, twice, 3 times he pounded. Once, twice, 3 times he pounded the black felt blocks together. Each smack produced a billowy cloud of powder. On the 4th whack, the chalk dust genie appeared, complete with golden turban, earring, and pajama bottoms. "Your wish is my command, Raj," he said, bobbing up and down inside his cloud. "Genie, I don't want to be the teacher any longer," Roger said. "I mean, it's murder. I mean, there's a kid in the class who's driving everyone up the walls. He's unbelievable." The genie folded his muscled arms and raised his smooth chin. "So that is your last wish, eh, Raj?" "Sure is. I don't want to be in charge anymore. I want to be my good old self again." Even as Roger spoke, the cloud of chalk dust rose above the playground, drifted across the baseball diamond, and sailed over the right field fence. With the 2 erasers in his hands, Roger marched into the school. At the door, he peeked into the room at the end of the hall. Phew! The tall teacher was back at his desk, sitting there. Every student was hunched over a book, reading silently. Roger entered the classroom. He was on the verge of shouting out when he checked himself. Instead, he walked to the blackboard and placed the erasers on the chalk tray. Grinning at his classmates, he crept to his desk in the third row and took out his reader. After that, Roger did a remarkable thing. The class was shocked. The tall teacher nearly fell out of his swivel chair. Roger knew, even surprised himself. He started to read. That's the first installment of The Classroom at the End of the Hall. I'll be back tomorrow with the next chapter, The Messy Desk Pest. So long for now, friends. Talk to you soon.